Now joining us, former Senator and presidential candidate, Mike Gravel.
Hi.
Senator Gravel, how are you?
Very good. What's cooking?
We're excited to have you on the show, as you can tell. And I want to let everybody know you got a book out called A Political Odyssey, The Rise of the American Militarism and One Man's Fight to Stop It.
And then plus another book out there called Citizen Power.
All right, I like both of those. I'm going to talk about both of those in a second. But, you know, obviously you're a former senator from Alaska, so I wanted to ask you about the oil spill that's so prevalent in the news now. Everybody's talking about it. Sarah Palin just tweeted out that since she's from Alaska and they suffered the Exxon Valdez there, that she's got a solution for the people over there in Louisiana and some of the other states that are going to get affected, that they should just pray.
They should pray?
Yes. Do you think that might be an effective strategy?
Well, no, I think that might be better advised to get a lot of booms and start corralling the oil and burning it off and trying to help BP cap the bottom so that the spill stops. I don't think prayer would be that effective.
Now, you know, she was the biggest advocate of drill, baby, drill. What's your stance on that? Do we need some sort of offshore drilling, or in this case, drilling this deep, for example, is just too dangerous, no matter what kind of regulations you might have?
Well, certainly this accident calls into question that anything that human beings do that's a stretch scientifically and technologically, that there's going to be errors and they're going to make mistakes. What I think is really sad is that we should concentrate on efforts not so much with drill, baby, drill, but to get the wind to turn the windmills that we want to manufacture and place all over the country, and then to get them offshore, and then at the same time concentrate on tidal action. The energy produced by wave action or the currents is far, far superior than wind energy. So these are things that we haven't focused enough attention on, and if we did, I think we could remove our dependency from oil that we have to import.
Senator Gravel, you know, one last question on that front. You know, we have Sarah Palin, who was very popular as the governor of Alaska initially, up to 80%, and it's because she took the oil money that was coming in for Alaska and gave it back to the people. She took it from the companies and gave it to the citizens of Alaska. Isn't that one of those...
No, not really. That all happened, the fund that was created happened long before she came on the scene. What she did, which was unusual, when she ran against the Republican establishment, got elected, and then made common cause with the liberals in the state legislature to raise taxes on the oil companies, just to raise the taxes. And that added to her popularity. But then when she came to the national scene, she then, of course, as a vice presidential candidate, had to be sort of the hatchet person on the Democrats. And so when she went back to be governor, all of this goodwill that she had with the Democrats had been dissipated by what she had done and said during the presidential campaign. And so that left her in a quandary where she was not terribly respected by the Republicans in the legislature or the Democrats, and she did what I think was the wisest thing she could do, is get the hell out of the governorship and go out and make some serious money.
So you're in favor of that. All right, but the fact that she raised taxes on the oil companies and gave it to the citizens, isn't that
well, she didn't give it to the citizens. That was used to carry the budget of the government. So she's had no hand in, when you say give it to the citizens, what we have in Alaska is the permanent fund, where people get about anywhere from $1,000 to $1,300 a year from the permanent fund. But that was taken care of 20 years before she ever came on the scene.
Well, so that didn't raise the amount they were getting from the permanent fund?
No, not at all.
Oh,
not
okay.
at all. That the taxes on the oil companies went to the general fund to meet the obligations of the state government.
All right, that's interesting. All right, now let's talk about citizen power, because you know where we need it the most is in my opinion, in financial reform. As we're in the middle of that battle as well. What do you think that the average citizen can do, given the lock Wall Street seems to have over Washington in regards to financial reform?
The sad thing is the average citizen can't do a damn thing. These people they bought the government in the '08 election, both the presidency and the Congress, and what I kept saying during the course of the debates, you want to find out the government you're going to get, follow the money. And the money, by and large, came from Wall Street, came from the insurance company, came from the military-industrial complex, and that's what you see. Obama has raised the defense budget 4% above what Bush had. He's now delivered health care to the insurance companies, and he is now, quote, going to make sure that there's enough loopholes in the regulation of the Wall Street that it won't be worth a damn.
Now, I know you ran against Obama, but what do you think his thinking on this is? I mean, do you think he thinks, oh yeah, well these guys are giving me money, so I'm going to do them favors, or is it a little more complicated than that?
It's more complicated than that, but the essence of it is that his whole program is just normal politics as usual. And of course, he campaigned under, oh, we can have a change, we're going to make a change. We haven't had any change at all in the nature of the government he's brought forward. And you could tick off the things that he hasn't done. There's been no improvement in transparency. We're still doing rendition. We're still doing interrogation. We're still expanding the war in Afghanistan when we should be getting out. We should have got out of Iraq a long time ago. We're bankrupting the nation. We consider ourselves an empire, and we're an empire in decline, and nobody in a position of leadership is acknowledging the problem.
So, Senator Gravel, let's go to an alternate reality where you won the presidential race. And the problem that you're going to run into is, according to conventional wisdom, is that you can't do the things that you want to do, that they're too, quote-unquote, radical. And
that's accurate. And of course, you say, make off that I got elected. Well, I am going to be doing a television show. It's called I Like Mike, Our President. And I have become virtually elected as president. And one of the things that we'll be doing in the first 100 days, I can't accomplish a thing because Congress won't pass anything that I'm proposing. But I've made a precondition of my continuing to serve that the people have to enact a national initiative. The national initiative is meta legislation that puts the tools in the hands of people to be able to make laws. Presently, representative government has a monopoly on lawmaking. Well, lawmaking is the central power of government. And so if you're not in a position to make laws, establish policy through the laws, then all you can do is obey what the elites dictate to you, and that's what we have today. And there's no way that that's going to be corrected or improved upon, because that would mean that they would consciously dilute their power, and they're not going to do that. Nor does the media buy into this, because its power would also be diluted if the people were empowered to be able to make laws and set policy in this country.
Tell me a little bit more about I Like Mike. Where is that going to appear?
Well, we're just in the process. I'll be shooting in New York some the 5-minute version, and that will be put out into the digital arena. And then we hope to, after going with that, raise $1.5 million. We already raised $250,000 to do the first pilot, and then subsequent shows will be about $1 million a week. And so we would have to negotiate with and find somebody like HBO, Comedy Central, you name it, Stars. And in addition to that, it would be worldwide, because any issue that the United States is deeply involved in is a global issue. And so we will try to get distribution in Europe, in Scandinavian countries, in South America, in South Asia, and East Asia.
Senator Gravel, I'm sorry, I'm interested in what happened after the presidential campaign. Did you get bites?
Well, I got elected virally.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm now president, and so I'm acting no different than when I did during a presidential campaign, somewhat irreverent.
Like the Rock commercial.
That's right. And
what was that about? Can I just interject for a second?
The Rock? Yeah, that was now. First off, that was not my idea. That was a couple of young men from California who asked to film me, and I agreed, and I didn't even pay attention to what they were doing. What The Rock shows is that you look at the camera for about a minute, which is a metaphor for you're focusing on your life and wanting to do something meaningful. Then you turn around and you grab a rock and you throw it in the water, which is your act of doing something, and it causes ripples on the water that affect a lot of other people. And then after you've done that, you walk off to your demise. Now that is a metaphor for anybody's life experience. And that was these two young men that thought of that, and I just did what they directed me to do, and I was happy to be part of this metaphor, which the young people who saw it overwhelmingly identified and knew exactly what the message was.
And so have you been getting bites from the HBOs and Stars and stuff like that as possibly picking this up? And how about speeches? You know, Sarah Palin, of course, is making a tremendous amount of money in speeches. Are you getting some offers there as well, or no?
Well, I get an opportunity to speak, but my problem is I only speak about one subject, and that is the empowerment of the people to make laws. Well, corporate America is not interested in putting up money to hear that message, nor are the various organizations that would have money to pay big bucks for a speaking engagement. So I get invitations from universities. I don't get any money, basically $1,000. Last time I spoke in Indiana, it cost me $600 to go out and make the speech rather than them paying me by the time it was all said and done. So, no, I don't have enough celebrity nature at this point to do that. However, that could all change because the key with the show, I Like Mike, which is going to be a spoof and ridiculing the establishment and the shortcomings of representative government. But at the end of every show, people will be able to vote on a policy issue that the Congress will not dare address, like deregulating marijuana, like approving gay marriage, like pardoning people in prison who've been convicted nonviolently of a marijuana crime. These are the kind of things that I'll be pushing, trying to get out of Iraq, trying to limit the expenditures of the military-industrial complex. And these are issues that will be put to the people to vote on. And as you know, in American Idol, about 60 million people voted in one show. Well, in my case, over a period of a season, if we can get 65 million people to go to vote and then say, well, why can't I do this in the real world, and realize that they can by going over to the National Initiative for Democracy website and voting, and thereby, if we get 65 million people that vote for that law, the National Initiative, then it becomes the law of the land, and the people would be empowered to make laws, and they would be empowered to come into the operation of government as lawmakers and in partnership with their elected officials, but they would then be the senior partners.
And finally, you mentioned marijuana there, and I know last time you were on the show, you talked about how you'd smoked a little bit, and you think it should be legal. So is government making a major mistake there by not legalizing it? And
oh, it's terrible. We spent over $1 trillion on the whole drug war, and it's a disaster. All it did is fill up our prisons, use taxpayers, and damage other foreign governments. You got a problem with cocaine coming out of Afghanistan right now. Well, if you deregulate it, you don't legalize it, but if you want to get go to a doctor, get treated, because drug addiction is not a criminal problem. It is a public health issue. And now what we do with our crazy policy is we make the criminals, the drug addict, the people who deal in drugs, criminals, and they're the ones that our children go to the street corner and get their drugs from.
Senator Gravel, I completely agree with that. Do you still smoke up at all, or no?
No, not at all. I did when I was younger, but I'll tell you the truth, I never got a high out of it.
Me too.
Never got a high. For some reason, my metabolism did not respond. Once I had some brownies that were laced, and those were pretty good.
Well, that's why we love having Senator Gravel on the show. Pure honesty. I love it. All right, the books are Citizen Power, A Political Odyssey, The Rise of American Militarism, and One Man's Fight to Stop It. And the upcoming show is I Like Mike. Thank you so much.
I Like Mike, Our President, and I'm not sure what network will snap it up, but we're in negotiations on that now.
All right, Senator Mike Gravel, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.